What's up, everybody? I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. My name's Anthony, and today I got a question for y'all. What would you do if you were told you have 3 months until whatever crisis you may be preparing for happens? Okay, so why am I asking this question? Well, let's be completely honest here. Let's lay all our cards out on the table. It is middle of August 2020. What do you think is going to happen in less than 3 months? There's going to be a presidential election. And guess what's probably going to happen after that presidential election? Probably some not so good things. Things that a lot of people have been preparing for however long they've been prepping. So that's why I wanted to ask this question now, because maybe it'll get your wheels spinning on what you actually need to start doing to maybe get off your butt and start doing some stuff while you got the chance. Now, it's no secret, if you've been watching this channel for longer than 15 minutes, you know the reason why I prepare, the reason why I do what I'm doing is twofold. One, I was in the military for 6 years, so obviously being prepared just kind of happens when you're prior military. But I've also lived out in the country. I've lived here since 2015. I live outside city limits. I live rural. And there's just a certain degree of being prepared that you just have to do because you live rural. You don't have those amenities that you get in the city. You don't have the ability to call someone, hey, come fix this, or hey, I have an issue. You don't have that out here in the country. So you have to kind of roll with the punches, and you have to be able to adapt to your current situation, whatever that may be. So there's a certain degree of preparedness that is implied if you live out in the rural areas like me. So those are the reasons why I prepare. But I just want to go ahead and put this on video that there is an election coming up. After that election happens, there's probably going to be certain things that happen that being prepared will benefit you. Again, I'm going to pose that question. If you were given 3 months to prepare for whatever you happen to be preparing for, civil unrest, government overreach, inflation, job loss, economic breakdown, whatever, if you were given 3 months head start, what would you start doing today? And I'm going to go over that with what I'm doing, so maybe I can open up some thought avenues of what you should be doing as well. For me personally, I live in a hurricane zone, so obviously I have the basics taken care of. When I say the basics, I'm talking about food, water, gas for my generator, a generator, simple hygiene supplies, things like that, just in case the power goes out for a certain amount of time. I have all that stuff covered, so that's not necessarily on my priority list as of right now. However, if something bad was going to happen in 3 months and I knew about it now, I guess the main answer I would probably give you would be I would be improving my infrastructure on my property. That way I can get all the hard work done now while things are good. That way when things go bad, I'm not struggling to play catch up. Now, I know that sounds pretty basic and pretty well, duh, but you have no idea how many people out there have not considered that, or at least do not give that thought any real merit. Because let's be honest here, people are out there thinking, I'm going to be super tactical and I got a whole bunch of guns, but I'm not thinking about anything else besides guns or going to battle or whatever. They're forgetting about the most commonsensical approach to a long-term scenario. So when I mention things like setting up your infrastructure, I'm not just talking about setting up things like security. Yes, that is important. I'm talking about things like, how are you going to wash your clothes? How are you going to dry your clothes? How are you going to source food? How are you going to gather water? What are you doing to improve your situation now while you have the chance, while everything is still kind of good, to improve your situation for later on in case they aren't so good? So the first thing, if you've watched my channel before, you know that I'm super serious about is food. You want to make sure that you are taking care of your food needs. Now, obviously, if you've watched my channel before, you know that I only have a supplemental garden, so that is not going to cut it if things happen the way I think might happen. I will definitely need to expand my garden. So if you have the opportunity, if you have the land to do so, I highly suggest you expanding if you don't already have some form of food in progress. Now, this doesn't have to be a huge 5-acre plot like mine. If you have a suburban backyard even, you have the ability to plant some food. And look at your front yard. You can even do it in your front yard too, because the no lawn movement is actually gaining a lot of steam, depending obviously on your whole homeowners association situation if you have one. So for me, one of my top priorities, obviously I can only do so much because of the heat, but one of my top priorities is trying to expand my food plot. Now, I have a 20 by 20 area for my main garden. That does not stop me because I have a whole bunch of other land as well, and you will start seeing some updates when I start cultivating other parts of the land. I got to start getting rid of some of the grass and whatever else to make new garden plots. But increasing my food production is definitely one of my top, if not the top concern I have right now. So I guess one of the best ways to address that and kill multiple birds at one time, multiple birds with one stone, is I had to take down this humongous oak tree. When I took down the oak tree, that has given me multiple things here. I'm able to open up a whole bunch of now growing area because it's not shaded. I'm actually going to start getting over 6 hours of sunlight because the tree's not shading it out. I'm also going to be able to get a whole bunch of, obviously, firewood. You need firewood. Now, I live in South Carolina, so obviously firewood for heating isn't really a priority. However, guess what? You still got to boil water. If power goes out, I'm going to have to boil water. I'm going to need wood to heat up, to heat the water and make it drinkable. So not having firewood to purify water or cook is kind of lacking for a lot of people. They don't really think about that aspect. They only think about warmth, but you need firewood even if you're in a hot location like mine so you can cook your freaking food. And also this area that I've now cleaned out, I'm going to put down a small orchard. Now I know what you're thinking, you said 3 months. How is an orchard going to help you in 3 months? Well, that's kind of the thing. It's not really going to help me out within that 3-month period. However, being able to set up an infrastructure, being able to set that up now, just in case things start happening in 3 months and they don't actually finish for up to 2 years, 3 years, or just things might be changing in the long run. It's a good idea to have things planted down now. That way I can get the ball rolling on my food production in terms of other things besides just vegetables. So having things like a pear tree is what I'm going to put down, a couple peach trees, and another apple tree will only help me in the long run because, they say it best. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Well, the second best time to plant a tree is now. So that's what I'm doing. All right, so my next improvement I've been making to my infrastructure is I wanted to add on a new run for my chicken coop. If you pay attention to my last videos, you'll know that I had to build this coop on top of a cement slab because I had a lot of problems with predators. So to avoid that, I just built this coop on top of a slab. That way nothing can dig underneath there, and it has been very successful. When I say very successful, I'm talking about I haven't lost a bird yet. So it is a definite great design. However, the birds that are in there are about 5 years old and they're starting to slow down in terms of egg production. Now I know a lot of you are like, okay, we'll just kill them and eat them. But my wife will not let me because they are her friends. So I got to make sure I can add to the flock with new birds. Now, if you know anything about adding new birds to an old flock, you'll know that there's going to be a lot of fighting because of the pecking order. So I want to make sure that I can enclose this run with wire, put the new chicks in the run, keep the old ones in the coop. That way they can kind of intermingle for about 2 weeks. Then I'll be able to cut in a door. They can go play with each other. No big deal. That way I can add about 4 more birds to the flock. I'm not cramping them all in one tiny little space in that 12 by 10 coop, and they'll get along just fine. But being able to increase my egg production is going to be key here, especially because I have another mouth to feed, obviously once my daughter starts eating solid foods. Now another fun project I got to get my butt moving on is hanging up a clothesline. You got to figure, if there's anything that's going to happen, especially a major event, you're probably going to be working your butt off more than you ever have in your entire life. What do you think that's going to do to your clothes? Probably going to make you pretty darn stinky. We got to make sure our hygiene is upkept, because if we don't have good hygiene, then that's just inviting a means to getting sick and making everything 10 times harder than it needs to be. So if you don't have good hygiene, then everything starts kind of going downhill from there. That's kind of what separates us from other countries in the world right now. And let's be completely honest, if something happens with the power, or I don't want to use that power because I may be on battery, we have rolling blackouts, whatever, I'm going to need to make sure my clothes are dry and sterilized. Obviously, if I'm not using boiling water or hot water in the wash, I'm going to make sure my clothes are disinfected. The best way to do that is with UV light and a clothesline. So that's why I have this. I'm going to be setting this up in the next few weeks just to make sure that I have a nice, clean, sterilized place to hang my clothes so I can address that simple issue. Now, one point of emphasis I wanted to make sure I put in this video is the fact that, yes, if you've watched my channel, you know that I like to preserve my food, and I have a lot of methods for doing so, but a lot of those require electricity. So I have to think outside the box, and I really got to put preserving my food to the forefront because, yeah, it's nice that I can make food. It's nice that I can be able to produce food, but I want to make sure I can keep that food throughout the course of the wintertime because that's what we are rolling into. So one thing that has been on my list to do for a very long time that I've been dragging my feet on is a solar dehydrator. Now, I got some screen, I got some spare wood. I'm going to end up making that thing very shortly. I will put a video when I do, just in case some of y'all actually want to see that. If you do, let me know down in the comment section. I'll probably push that a little bit more forward than I was going to. But that is one of those projects that I've been putting off, and I need to stop putting them off because, you know, as things are progressing in that 3-month plan, that could be very beneficial to me. That's why I need to get working on it. All right, so those are just a few things that I have planned to go on my infrastructure or in my infrastructure plan for my property. Like I said, this is a mental exercise to maybe get you thinking, get your wheels spinning, so you can be like, you know what would I do if I had 3 months to prepare? And those are some of the things that I'm working on right now. Like I said, you need to constantly be improving your position regardless to where you live. Even if you live in the suburbs, an apartment, whatever, you got to be better than you were the day before. And that's what this video is for, is to try to get your wheels spinning, to maybe think about things outside the box, or something you may not have considered that you might need if something happens like you're planning on in the next so many months. So I really hope this video helped you. I hope you learned something. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. It really does help out my channel. Subscribe, and I'll catch y'all on the next one, okay?